Hey everybody, welcome to my final and third learning teaching interaction. Let's go ahead and get started. There's three things I want to touch on this week from the past week's studying, and that is evaluation, ethics, and boundaries. So to begin with, I want to start with evaluation. I want you to think about evaluation for just a minute, and what are your thoughts and feelings about that? Is that a good thing? Is it an uncomfortable thing? I want you to just think about that for a few minutes. To be honest, I think of evaluation as a little bit uncomfortable. I think it's hard to be evaluated and have people point out things that you need to improve and change. But as I read and learned about it a little bit more, I can see the benefits and I recognize that it is a good thing. So what does evaluation do for us? It helps us to gather information to make our program stronger. It helps us to understand what is working and what needs to be tweaked. It can help justify further funding for our programs, and it can provide information for matching program options to program clients. So those are some good benefits. As we're establishing our evaluations, there's some things we need to think about. We really need to have our visions, our goals, and our objectives well defined. Vision statements describe what the program should accomplish by focusing on the end result, a little more broad. And then goals are one step more specific than our vision, and then the objectives of our program are the most specific. And there's just a couple that stood out to me, a couple aspects of the objectives that I wanted to share. First of all, objectives are things that can be measured, and they also describe an action or knowledge that a person would gain through the program. So those are very specific things. So when you think about this, why is it important to have a good understanding of goals, visions, and objectives? Why does that matter in evaluation? And I think it is because we need to know what we are trying to accomplish and evaluate. What do we want to know at the end of our lesson? If we have a good understanding of our visions, goals, and objectives, we can use the evaluation to measure how well the program met those goals. In essence, it can tell us how effective our program was. So as I've been thinking about my own program, and as I was creating my own evaluation tool a few weeks ago, there were a few things that I really felt like I wanted feedback on, and I'm going to share a few of those with you. First of all, I would like to know if my program offered relevant information, if my participants were going to take home the information that I shared and be able to apply it to their lives and families. I'd also like to know if my lesson objectives were clear and if the content of my workshop seemed to match those objectives. And the third thing is I would like to know how I did as an instructor. As uncomfortable as that is, I would like to know if there's things that I could do better in my delivery or in my approach, just some specific areas that I can improve. And the second thing I want to talk about are ethics. And one quote in the reading of ethics that stood out to me was, "The objective of family life education is to enrich and improve the quality of individual and family life by providing knowledge and skills needed for effective living." And ethics help us to accomplish that goal. So how can the Family Life Education Code of Ethics strengthen our practice and our relationships with those that we will teach? First of all, the Code of Ethics provides principles that help us make sure that we are dealing with our participants in ethical ways. We learned over this past week that the family life educator can actually do harm to those that they're trying to help. So we really do need to follow these Code of Ethics to make sure that that isn't happening. And they also provide guidelines for us to follow when we are presented with ethical dilemmas and difficult challenges. So the Code of Ethics, as I was reading through those, one stood out to me, and that was, "I will help parents and other family members recognize their strengths and work with them to set goals for themselves, their children, and others." And I think that this really stood out to me because it's so positive, and I really like how family life education is meant to be positive. It isn't about shaming people or making them feel guilty. And I love the idea of recognizing our strengths and building on those and setting goals for improvement. I also thought it was very helpful that they gave some tips for new professionals. The first one that really stood out to me was that obeying the laws will always lead to the right action. I think that In the case study that we worked on a few weeks ago, that was the issue with the second case study with their allegations of abuse. This code of ethics really helped me to see that this is always going to lead us to the right action when we obey those laws. But we do have to understand and be respectful of other principles that might be in conflict with this principle. I also thought it was great that we were counseled to take our time and not just jump into problem-solving mode, and that when we take the time to reflect on the principles and the relationships, we can make better decisions, and that quick solutions can often create new problems. Finally, I just want to touch on boundaries. Family life education is not quite like an academic subject that we study in school. There's a personal element to it, and this is really what distinguishes family life education from just an academic course. And this poses a problem because in order for a family life educator to do their job, we have to have a personal depth to things, but there needs to be a balance, and we need to make sure that that we're not getting too intense with that personal element. And there's a few ways that this can cause damage. The first is you might have a participant who is disclosing too much. You might have, well, and in that case, the family life educator is not really equipped to deal with these personal issues. And then this, if it gets too intense, it can drive other participants away from your program. So we really do need to make sure that we have a balance, that we're being careful with that. Finally, I appreciated the differences and the similarities between family life education, family therapy, and family case management. We all share a vision of strong, healthy families. And the differences are that family life education helps build knowledge and skills, and we're working with a target audience, creating programs for a group of people that meet their needs, versus family therapy, which is more individualized, working with individuals or families, repairing relationships and improving functioning. And then you have family case management, which is also more individualized, like family therapy. They're helping families comply with legal and policy systems and helping them to locate resources. So I appreciated seeing that these areas overlap, but also helping us to recognize the differences and what we do within each of these professions. So thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing your family or learning teaching interaction, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.